I'm Indy Neidell.
And I'm Berns.
And this is the Baseball History Time Machine.
Champion conversations for champion people.
Is this a South African
yes,
thing?
Yeah.
Because if it's international, I'd feel bad I didn't know it. What is
it? It's Carling Black Label.
Black Label beer. We got Black Label.
But we call it Zamalek back home.
Zamalek.
That's the colloquial name for it. And Black Label is the working man's beer.
And it's champion conversations for
champion people, but I can't remember what the original one was. I had it somewhere and I've just completely, I think it's a champion beer for champion people, I think.
Champion.
I think it's champion beer for champion people, something like that.
Okay, cool.
But it's from way back.
Well, that's today's slogan.
That's it.
Okay.
So this is our last episode before the Major League All-Star break, right?
That it is.
And are we going to take a break too?
I hadn't planned on it, but we have to figure out when and how to record the next episode after this one. The one that should come out July 19th.
I know why that might be an issue, but why don't you tell our friends why that might be an issue?
Sure. My wife's family is from a little town up near the Norwegian border called Elvdalen. And in the summers, we rent a house there for a month or so, which is really cheap because it's so out of the way. But it's gorgeous. And this time of the year, it's still light out when it gets close to midnight, and the local lakes and rivers are warmed up to be great for swimming, right? Yeah.
But it's not just a vacation, right?
No, it's sort of a working vacation. I have stuff to work on like 4 hours a day, and then I relax and I grill every evening, and I watch either baseball or the World Cup, depending on the schedule. But I had to be in Stockholm today for filming my Korean War YouTube series, so we can also record this episode, but I don't know if I'll be back again at all before the 19th.
Guess we'll just have to see.
I guess we will. But let's get down to today's baseball business.
Is this the next part of the 19K Club?
It sure is. We covered the first two guys who struck out 19 guys in one game, Charlie Sweeney and Hugh Daly.
You mean Evil Eye Sweeney and One Arm Daly.
That's who I mean. Yeah. And they both did it in 1884. And it would be 78 years before anyone else struck out 19 guys in one game. And that anyone else was Tom Cheney.
But he didn't do it in 9 innings, right? You said last time.
Yeah, he did not. He did it in a 16-inning complete game. But he did strike out an all-time Major League Baseball record, 21 hitters in that game. And I don't think anything should be taken away from him for the extra innings, because no one else has ever done that. And there have been loads of fireballers who pitched long extra inning games.
I mean, 21 strikeouts in one game, that's pretty special. So who is Tom Cheney, and why don't you hear his name as much compared to some of the other pitchers nowadays?
We don't hear much about Cheney because he didn't have all that long a career.
Okay.
He appeared in 8 seasons, but only twice did he throw more than 100 innings, 1962 and 63. Now, in the first of those years, he finished second in the American League in strikeouts per 9 innings and fewest hits per 9 innings, but he went 7-9 in 173 innings.
Did he play for bad teams, maybe?
Well, his 2-year heyday, I guess, was with Washington, who lost over 100 games and finished last both seasons. So yeah, but he did appear in a World Series once. So let me backtrack a bit.
Okay.
Cheney was from Georgia, and I should note that while fans called him Tom, his friends and family called him Thomas, and other players called him Skins because he went bald pretty early in life, like Skinhead Skins.
So rough.
Yeah, but Skins Cheney. But he was a real country boy too, right? He came up with the Cardinals. But after the 1959 season, at which point he'd thrown just 20 innings in 2 seasons with the Cardinals, he was thrown into the Cimoli-Klein trade. This was where former Dodger All-Star Geno Cimoli was sent to the Pirates for veteran starter Ron Klein.
The Pirates, they won the World Series in 1960, the next year, right? We talked about that and Maz's homer and all that a while back,
did.
didn't we?
I'm glad you remember, yeah. So when you think about it, kind of unfair of life to Ron Klein, because he had toiled away 6 seasons with the Pirates, who mostly sucked. And he led the National League in losses twice with them, and then he gets traded away just when they finally get good.
That is so frustrating. That kind of reminds me of Bryce Harper. Like the season he left, the Washington Nationals won the World Series.
You know how many times I saw on the internet, "Suck it, Bryce."
People don't like him, and I don't understand why. He seems
I don't have anything against Bryce, but like,
that's crazy.
Wait, hey, when Ralph Kiner, I don't know if I mentioned this ever in the series, Ralph Kiner was traded from the Pirates to the Cubs. Now, Kiner won 7 straight homer titles, right? And he was one of, if not the highest player in baseball.
Yeah.
He'd hit over 50 homers twice. You know,
Okay.
nobody ever, even Babe Ruth, never won 7 homer titles in a row.
Yeah.
And after 6 of them, he was being traded to the Cubs and kind of complained, and they're like, Ralph, we lost 100 games with you. We could lose 100 games without you.
That is insane. Actually, I mean,
Fair enough.
What do you say to that? What is your retort?
$300,000.
What is your
We're gonna
retort?
lose 100 games anyway.
Yeah. Lose them we will, with or without you.
Without
So-
you.
But we should do.
we lost 100 games with you. We can lose 100 games without you.
I need to check up how many instances there have been of a guy getting traded and then the team going on to win the World Series within the next 2 or 3 years, maybe.
Well, you're
That would
talking
be a
about Ron
fun-
Klein.
That would be a fun.
Although he wasn't. He's no Bryce Harper.
No, he's no Bryce Harper, but it would be good to kind of see how many of those guys are
There
out
was
there.
a few good ones. Walker Cooper. Not Walker Cooper. Who am I thinking of? Mark Cooper, Walker Cooper. It's a shame I can't remember because he had spent his entire career with Pittsburgh and he got traded away. He started in 1910, just after they won the 1909
World Series.
Yeah, and then he came in with Babe Adams, right?
Yeah.
And then after 1924, he was traded away in 1925, and it absolutely broke his heart.
I would break that personally.
Let's see, Mark Cooper, Walker Cooper. Why can't I remember? I can't remember his name. Oh well. Indy's note during editing, it was Wilbur Cooper he was trying to remember, who joined the Pirates. He was a rookie in 1912, and he won 20 games for the Pirates in 1920, 21, 22, and 24. In 24, he was 20-14, led the National League in shutouts, and then was traded away to the Cubs. And then, of course, the Pirates finally won the World Series the next year without him. And yeah, he was heartbroken. So Wilbur Cooper. Well, if I'm leaving this part in and not editing it out, you guys can look it up. It's a shame there's not subtitles, because the next subtitles say Indy actually means to be talking about this guy.
When we get to video one day, we will have that. One day.
So, well, anyhow,
Yeah.
While it was bad for Ron Klein, it was good fortune to be traded to the Pirates for Skims Cheney and Gino Cimoli, because they got to play for a World Series winner.
Did they see much action?
Cimoli actually played all 7 games of the World Series, 6 in left field and once as a pinch hitter, and he hit .250 for the series.
Respectable.
Yeah, it's the World Series. 1 out of 4, you're okay, right?
Yeah.
Cheney appeared in 4 innings in 3 games in relief, so they both did get time on the big stage. Though Cheney only appeared during the 3 blowout Yankee wins. Somebody has to take the mound. We're going to lose anyway. Funny enough, neither Cimoli, Cheney, nor even Ron Klein would finish 1961 with either the Pirates or the Cardinals. They were all traded again. In Cheney's case, in 1961, he lasted exactly 1 appearance with the Pirates, in which he gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned, on 4 walks, an error, and a homer. That's consecutive batters, without recording a single out. So he had an infinite ERA for the season, after which he was sent to the minors. But there is actually some sad drama around this part of his life.
Yeah, because that's what any young major league pitcher needs on top of an infinite ERA, right?
That's what you need. Just before he was sent down, on top of his infinite ERA, his father suddenly died. He had a heart attack at age 52. The date to cut rosters down to 25 men was May 10th in 1961, which was coming up soon. And when Cheney went to be with his family, Pirate general manager Joe Brown told him, don't worry, he's going to stay with the club. But when he got back, he learned he'd been sent down to Columbus.
That's a pretty cheap trick. Right?
He did, and Cheney went ballistic. In his own,
obviously.
Here's a quote in his own words. I cursed him terribly, called him everything a man can be called. I could have handled the truth, but don't lie to me. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me in baseball. I never forgave Brown. I told him that the best thing you can do for me is to get me out of this whole organization, because I'll never play for you again.
Careful what you wish for.
Well,
he got his wish.
He got his wish.
Yeah,
He did.
yeah.
And he pitched pretty well with Columbus in the minors, and then he was traded to the Senators.
Were they as bad in 61 as they would be in 62, 63?
They finished 9th, not 10th, but they did still lose 100 games. But Cheney actually hurt his ribs, so he didn't pitch much for him in 61.
Okay.
But if you look at his game logs in 1962, you see him really developing. Like, he only appeared in spot relief at first, and then he had 2 starts in late May, and he went 1-1 in them. And then in June, he was a regular in the rotation, and on June 30th, he struck out 10 in a 1-0 shutout over the Twins.
Oh, that's pretty good. So he's starting to blossom at this point,
He
so to
really
speak.
is. He threw a couple more shutouts in August, and then on September 1st, struck out 10 in a 10-inning start against the Angels, though the game was 11 innings long and he didn't get the win, but still. And then, on September 12th, 1962, Thomas Cheney shocked the world by striking out 21 Orioles in one baseball game.
That is incredible. But question was, that's a great feat regardless of my question, but my question is, how were the 1962 Orioles? Were they decent? Were they a competing team? Or
the Orioles were on their way up. From when they moved from St. Louis to Baltimore, that instantly turned them around from being them and Washington had been off and on the worst, or Philadelphia, the three worst teams in baseball, except for during the war. The Orioles would win the 1966 World Series, sweeping the Dodgers. And this is the Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale Dodgers. They swept them in 4 straight games.
Okay, so they were on the up at that point. So that's a pretty impressive
They're still
feat.
a couple years away. They're still they don't have Frank Robinson yet. They don't, Boog Powell's still too young, but they're getting there.
But I mean,
they have Brooks Robinson. So.
Yeah, but 4 years is nothing.
Yeah.
4 years is nothing. Well, at least for me in modern baseball, 4 years, as a Cubs fan, 4 years is nothing. I mean, there's always next year, right?
It's always I liked in 1956 when 55 when the Dodgers finally, after 7 tries and fails, finally won a World Series. In 1956, their slogan was "Just wait till last year."
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Aren't they the team who has lost the World Series the most? Are they?
I'm going to say yes, although I haven't actually thought about it. But let's see. If you're counting, especially if you're counting the 1880s World Series, then they lost in 1889, and then they lost in 1916, they lost in 1920, they lost in 1941, they lost in 1947, 49, 52, and 53. So they lost those 8 before they won. They've lost some since then. They won in 56. And they lost in 56, and then they won in 59, and then they won in 63, won in 65, lost in 66. Yeah, it goes. Lost in 74. So yeah,
it's a lot.
I'm doing this off the top of my head.
That's insane. That's crazy. But the Cubs have also lost a bunch. I know.
Yeah,
they lost at least I think it's 3 or 4.
You're sidetracking me.
Sorry.
I'm still talking about Tom Cheney, who got $1,000 bonus for striking out 21 Orioles in one game. Now,
pretty good.
The next year, 1963, when that rolled around, and I'm saying it straight out, Cheney started the season as the hottest pitcher in baseball. In his first 4 starts, he gave up 1 earned run. They were all complete games, right?
Wow.
Struck out 38 batters. In 4 of his first 6 starts, he struck out 10 or more batters. And then it all came crashing down.
No, what happened?
In July, in the middle of, shutting out the Orioles again, in the 6th inning, something snapped in his elbow. And this was just when he was really getting his control, because that was his problem. Even in his pretty darn good 1962, he still walked 5 guys per 9 innings. In 1963, he was down at 2.6.
It's always such a sad, heartbreaking story when a guy finally puts it together and he figures it out, and then something goes either a personal tragedy. In this case, I mean, he already had his personal tragedy, and now he's got something snapped in his arm.
He pitched 9 innings the rest of the season, but it might have been different because the diagnosis was just that he had simple tennis elbow, just elbow strain, and resting his arm should let it recover.
Since I don't know who Tom Cheney was, I'm guessing this was not the case, that it was just tennis elbow.
Pretty good guess. But here's the thing, situation really blew up in 1964 because of Gil Hodges.
Is he a Dodgers guy from the 50s?
Yeah, he was a big Dodgers star, the first baseman for the Dodgers in the 50s.
Old Gil.
He was Washington's new manager. And he and Cheney didn't like each other. And one big issue was innings. Cheney would throw 4 or 5 innings each time out, and then the pain was too much for him. And he thought, personally, that he could throw 3 innings, no problem. Yeah. So maybe he could be a long reliever, a 3-inning reliever. But Hodges wanted him to start. So he kept sticking him out there and forcing him to pitch through the pain. In June, Cheney went out to start a game, and according to Danny Perry, this is what Cheney had to say about his 5-1 complete game victory. He kept me out there much too long. I stayed out there throwing until tears were coming out of my eyes. Afterwards, I was sitting in front of my locker. Hodges walked by and said, "That a way to go." I said, "Yeah, you son of a bitch. That was the last game I'll ever pitch."
Was it?
It was actually the last victory of his career, but he did make one more start. lasting 3 innings. And then he went to the Mayo Clinic, taking all of 1965 off, and that did not help. In 1 start and 2 games finished in 1966, his ERA was over 5, and that was it for the big league career of Tom Cheney.
Do other people other than Cheney also then point the finger at Gil Hodges?
I don't really know, and I don't know how fair or unfair that would be. I know they didn't like each other. I know Cheney felt he left him on the mound too long time and again, but I also know the Senators got better each and every year under Hodges.
Yeah.
And then he took over the Mets after they lost 100 games in 1967.
Yeah.
He improved them in 68, and then led the Miracle Mets to the Miracle World Series title over Baltimore and a 100-win season in 1969. So maybe he knew what he was doing. Who can say now?
What happened to him after he retired?
Thomas Cheney was
Skins.
Skins Cheney.
Skins.
You like that?
I love that. I love
Skins
that.
Cheney was 31 years old. He had a career record of just 19 wins and 29 losses. But as I said last time, 8 of those 19 wins were shutouts.
That's insane.
It was tough for him post-baseball. He had issues with alcohol. But eventually he had a propane gas business, although he would die of Alzheimer's in 2001 at 67 years old.
That's quite sad. And yet he had one magnificent game, 21 strikeouts.
After 9 innings, Cheney had 13 strikeouts after 9 innings, which is pretty good. But after 11 innings, he had 17.
Jeez.
Now, Mickey Vernon was Washington's manager in 1962, and he wanted to take Cheney out in the 12th inning. But Cheney refused, and Vernon was like, okay, cool. But, it's 1962. It was a 1-1 tie. It wasn't until the bottom of the 14th inning that he struck out number 18. And the announcer told the 4,000 or so fans there that he had tied Bob Feller, Sandy Koufax, Jack Coombs, and Warren Spahn for the modern record, though only Feller and Koufax did it in 9 innings. Right?
That's still fast company, as we always say.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like just though, like Feller, Koufax,
Coombs and
Spahn. That's pretty insane.
Coombs. When people talk about greatest seasons ever, and we were talking about 3 wins in the World Series. In 1910, Coombs wasn't even in the rotation at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
He didn't join the rotation until like a month after the season, and he went, I think it was 30-9, it might have been 31-9 was his record, with a 1.30 ERA, 13 shutouts, and then won 3 complete game victories in the World Series.
Jeez.
This is a guy, and he didn't even join the rotation until a month into the season.
Look, if it can happen for him, like anything can happen, right? Like,
but I think
that's insane.
The problem with Coombs is Coombs started really good. I'm sidetracking again. Coombs started really good in 1906 or 7 when he pitched a couple of long extra inning games, and then he was ineffective for a couple of years. And remember we talked about Babe Adams and Rube Marquardt, who had like that and they pitched this 16, 17 inning masterpiece, and then for the next 2 years they both sucked.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so good.
Yeah, exactly.
People are like, well, they don't make them like they used to. Maybe there's a reason they don't make them like Leon Cador and Joe Eschker, who pitched the 26 inning Boston-Brooklyn longest game ever. Neither of them was ever particularly good after that game.
I wonder why. I'm going
to tell you. You're going to hear stuff about how what this did to Cheney, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the announcer told the 4,000 fans they tied all these guys, right? Now one batter later. Now we're in the bottom of the 14th inning. One batter later, Dick Hall became strikeout number 19. Cheney got number 20 in the 15th inning, but it was getting close to midnight, and Baltimore had a midnight curfew for games. So the 16th inning would obviously be the final inning.
That's pretty exciting, because now you're kind of burning the candle from both ends, because you're like, I am pitching this many things. Because imagine hearing, you are now in the company of Feller, Koufax, Coombs, Spahn, and not having that, because obviously he heard that as well if they're announcing it, right? So you, how do you not freak out and, get, I would have a panic attack on the mound. They'd have to cart me off. But, for him to keep cool, and now also in the back of his head maybe knowing that, but there's a curfew in Baltimore. So this is maybe the last inning. I better do something.
Okay, well, so the top of that last inning, the 16th, Washington, Cheney's team, took a 2-1 lead on a Bud Zipfel homer, which was the last one of his short career. And then the bottom of the 16th was Cheney's last chance to top 20 strikeouts.
Yeah,
he still had 20. Still had the record.
That's amazing.
Now, he had not even given up a hit since the 8th inning, but he did give up a single with 1 out. And then the second out of the inning was a fly ball, so there's only 1 out left. Now, Cheney's Saber bio says this. Cheney faced the dangerous Dick Williams, a .419 pinch hitter that season. with the game on the line at 11:59 p.m. on the clock, Cheney caught the future Hall of Fame manager looking for his 21st strikeout and a hard-earned 2-1 victory. Cheney threw 228 pitches that night, fueled by adrenaline and chain smoking between innings. That game, he must have gone through 3 packs of cigarettes, recalled teammate Chuck Hinton. I sat down in the locker room afterwards, Cheney reflected, and in 15 minutes I was exhausted. The tension had worn off. I didn't realize I was that tired. Teammate Don Locke remembered the drive back to Washington after the game, when Cheney began suffering muscle cramps, legs, stomach, back, and arms, recalled Locke. In all honesty, he should have been on a sugar IV drip.
Okay, so hang on. Cheney chain smoking. That's pretty funny. Cheney chain smoking. I thought that was pretty good. You know, like when people kind of like often bring up guys like throwing maybe 150 or 200 pitches in a game, you think, man, that must really wear on your arms, your shoulders. And if your mechanics isn't good and they don't have the stuff back then to maybe like look at the way, like put you in one of them suits they do these days to kind of like calibrate and say, oh, you're putting too much strain here, you're doing this, you're doing that, you know. But of course, it wrecks your entire body. Well, and he threw 228 pitches.
And it's a good thing he was chain smoking between innings then.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with all that like nicotine and like the like just to help, you know.
Well, imagine if he didn't have the cigarettes. Hey, but here's the thing. Yeah. I'm going to do a segue here because the next guy on the 19K list was also a smoker.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, he smoked cigars, big Cuban cigars, and unlike Thomas Cheney, this guy you've heard of.
Who's that?
It is Luis Tiant.
El Tiante.
The one and only. And had he not had a bizarre 3 season hiccup mid-career, he might well be in the Hall of Fame. But he isn't actually a bad choice if they had voted him in, at least not according to me.
We did talk about him once before. Was it maybe the episode about the 1968?
That's it.
Episode?
It was only the second episode of this whole podcast. We talked about 1968, the year of the pitcher, and people think about Bob Gibson or Denny McClain when they think of that year. But as I said then, the first half of that season, there were 3 real top dogs. Tiant, Don Drysdale, and Gibson.
Yeah, their first half of the season numbers were out of this world. Like,
to refresh everyone out there's memory, at the start of July 1968, Luis Tiant, this is like July 1st or July 2nd, right?
Around about now, basically.
Yeah, around now.
Around now.
Luis Tiant was 13-5 with a 1.11 ERA and 7 shutouts. Don Drysdale was 10-4 with a 1.21 ERA and 7 shutouts. Gibson was only 9-5 with a 1.14 ERA and 5 shutouts. However, after the break, Gibby had an amazing second half as well.
Tiant was 13-5 with a 1.1 ERA and what is it? 7 shutouts?
7 shutouts.
The first half, like, how did he end up finishing that season?
His second half, he was merely great.
And
he ended up 21-9. Was pretty good, but with a 1.60 ERA, which, like Gibson's is for the National League, Tiant's 1.60 ERA is still the lowest American League single season mark since 1919, over 100 years ago.
Wait, who topped it?
Walter Johnson back then.
Okay, duh. Yeah, okay.
But fun fact, of the years 1901 to 1919 in the American League, the dead ball era, Luis Tiant's 1.60 ERA would only have led the league 5 times.
That's a pretty low-scoring environment. What about Gibson's, 112 in the National League in 1968? Like, how would it stack up back then?
It depends how you count it. I mean, we've talked about this before. My chair is squeaking. As it stands at baseballreference.com, only Three Finger Brown's 106 from 1906. Cub. And 1906 too. Tops it in their list. But Gibson would still win every other year of the dead ball era, but since ERA became an official stat, qualifications have changed several times. So depending where you stand, Babe Adams and Ferdy Shupp, we talked about them,
yes, we did.
Also had years with lower ERAs than 1.12 that might qualify. Yeah. But there were some close calls. Christy Mathewson had a 1.14, under the baseball. Christy Mathewson had a 1.14 in 1909. Jack Feaster had a 1.15 in 1907.
Jack Feaster?
Jack, the giant killer. He was a Cub.
Really? Okay.
Up with Three Finger Brown and Orville Overall.
Mordecai. Three Finger Brown.
Oh, his full name.
That is such a cool. He sounds like a pirate.
Oh, his full name was Mordecai Peter Centennial Brown because he was born in 1876.
That's right.
Okay, well, Jack Feaster was Jack the Giant Killer, and he was a Cub, and he was a Cub during the era when the class of the National League was the Cubs, Giants, and Pirates.
Boy, that's a long gone era.
Even though Jack's career was just 8 years long, and he only had 2 seasons over 200 innings pitched, he still went 15-5 overall against the mighty Giants, with 7 of his 17 career shutouts against them.
So he was really the Giant Killer.
He was the Giant Killer, Jack.
But how did he do against the Pirates?
Overall against the Pirates, he was 6-8 with 1 shutout. Now, for pitchers with over 1,000 career innings pitched, Jack the Giant Killer, has
such a cool name.
That's a great nickname.
It's a great nickname.
He has the 4th highest career ERA of all time.
Yeah.
At 2.02 is his career ERA. Though, okay, he did.
Career is crazy.
He only had like 1,067 innings pitched. Now he is just ahead of Smokey Joe Wood and Three Finger Brown, who had 203 and 205.
But those numbers are insane. Like it just doesn't it doesn't compute. Is anyone from after that like dead ball era even close to being up there? And I love the part where you're like only 1,067 innings.
Yeah,
that is mad. Like wow.
Well, I mean, Mo Rivera has a 2.21 career ERA, but that was in relief, of course. It's still well over 1,000 innings pitched, and Hoyt Wilhelm, also a reliever, is at 2.52.
Mm-hmm.
But then Clayton Kershaw is 2.53, tops anything career-wise since 1920.
Jeez, the times have changed.
They have, but for a while in the 1960s and 70s, there were regularly players with seasons below 2.
Yeah.
We've seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Luis Tiant had 2 of them.
Yeah.
He had the 160 in 1968, and then he led the majors in 1972 with 191. But between those 2 years was the hiccup.
And you're going to tell me about it?
I will, but I'm going to backtrack. This is El Tiante we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. My bad. Spin me some yarn, sir.
Okay, I will spin you some Tiant yarn. One of the most popular guys there was. My mom loved him. Everybody loved Tiant when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He turned his back fully on you look him up on YouTube. His wind-up was crazy. Now, he was born in Cuba, right?
Okay.
And his dad, Luis Eleuterio Tiant, was a star pitcher in both the Cuban leagues and in the States, the Negro leagues.
So our Luis was Luis Jr.
No, he was not.
Okay.
They had different middle names. Like ours is Luis Clemente Tiant y Vega. 5 generations of Tiants have had the name Luis Tiant.
Yeah, well, that's like my family, like my birth names on my it's like
it's the same thing?
It's like 6 generations. Me and my dad have the same name on our birth certificates.
Okay.
My granddad has the same name. His dad has the same name. It goes all the way back to like I think maybe the 1800s.
See, mine's great. My father was Norman Sampson Neidell, right?
Okay.
And his father, and I don't know what his middle name was, but because he was actually born in the. His family came from the Russian Empire and moved over here before the Russian Revolution. So when he lived in New York, he was his last name was Kneidler. Somebody that made dumplings, Knedler.
Yeah.
He was Harry Knedler, and he was one of the world's great violinists in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. He played with the New York Symphony, he played with Broadway musicals. Yeah, that's my grandfather.
Cool.
But he had changed it. He made up the last name Neidell. His name was Harry Knedler, and people were like, it sounds a little too like Eastern European, like Jewishy. And so first he changed it to Harry Neidell, right? And they said, and his friend said, "Well, that sounds just stupid."
Yeah, that doesn't.
And then he changed it to Neidell. So my grandpa he invented our last name.
Okay, that's cool.
Harry Neidell.
That's cool, and that's like quite recently.
I think so Neidell he would have made up that name in like the mid 30s sometime.
Like I said, I mean, all surnames come from a certain era where the king was like, okay, bro, listen, we need to differentiate. I mean, like when they did that in Holland. Hey, guys took it for a joke.
Ken, where are we going to stable these horses?
Exactly.
And you're Ken Stabler after that.
Exactly. Yeah, but exactly. There was a guy who like he thought it was ludicrous in Holland. So he was like, okay, well then I guess I'm a cat's elbow. And the surname Katzenellenburg is a surname because the king was like, oh, you think you're funny? That is your name now, bro. Like that is your thing. Like. I wouldn't
mind being Indy Cat's elbow.
That's how the legend goes, at least.
But somebody in my family, at some point, going way back, on my dad's side of the family, was particularly good at making dumplings.
Okay.
Otherwise, he would not have that name.
Okay.
That is correct, yes?
Okay, that's very cool.
You
don't get that name for being bad at dumplings.
No, unless it was ironic.
Unless I was about to
the
say.
big guy named
it's
Tiny.
It's a baseball. It's a
Here
baseball.
comes Harry Dumplings, man. Oh, boy. Hey, Harry, you going to give us some more of your dumplings? Yeah, sure, guys. You want some more of my dumplings? They're the best dumplings. Oh, my gosh. Sure, Mr. Johnson. Sure, King.
That is insane. Okay. Sorry, we just got really sidetracked there.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
5 generations of Tiants had the name Luis Tiant. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But back to his dad. I want to talk about his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his dad, the elder Luis Tiant, he was a legend, a pitching legend. And even after the age of 40 years old, went 9-0 for the New York Cubans in 1947, leading them easily to the pennant. Now, the younger Luis said that everybody in Cuba knows and used to tell him that his dad was a better pitcher.
That's pretty big praise coming from a guy who has like a what, 1.60 ERA. That's insane.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the elder Tiant was a dark-skinned Cuban, and thus, unlike guys like Armando Marsans and Dolph Luque, who were light-skinned Cuban and starred in the major leagues, Tiant was not allowed to play. The color barrier not being broken until 1947, when he was past 40 years.
I mean that sucks.
You know, his dad was a lefty.
Okay.
The younger one was a righty. His dad was a lefty. And in the 1930s, he was often billed in the States with names like Lefty Grove Tiant. Hey, you want to hear a really funny Lefty Tiant story?
I mean, we all do. I mean, with a nickname like that, Lefty Grove Tiant,
and sometimes Lefty Gomez Tiant. Whoever, because he was Lefty Tiant. So they were the two famous lefties.
So cool. Okay.
Now, this is from the book Voices from the Negro Leagues.
Okay.
Tiant had a screwball as his out pitch, and he also had a great pickoff move. And I'm saying the pickoff move because of this story. Henry Kimbrough tells the story. Tiant was pitching for the Cuban Stars.
Yeah.
Fred McCreary was umpiring. Goose Curry was the hitter. Tiant went up and down and grunted and throwed that ball, and this is a quote. I'll do the whole quote. Tiant was pitching for Cuban Stars. Fred McCreary was umpiring. Goose Curry was the hitter. Tiant went up and down and grunted and throwed that ball, and Goose Curry swung and said, "Jesus Christ, man, how'd I miss it?" Fred McCreary said, "I ought to call you out. That man throwed to first base."
I would have loved to see some Negro League ball. Must have been super fun to watch. I mean, some of these guys, Josh Gibson.
Satchel Paige, Lefty Tiant.
I mean, and we cannot forget
Lefty Tiant.
Tiant.
Now, his playing career ended in the late 40s.
Yeah.
And then he and his brother-in-law got a truck and became furniture movers. I'm rushing this bit because there's something I want to say.
Okay.
Something important. He did not encourage our Luis Tiant to play baseball.
How come?
Well, the darker side of the Negro Leagues, if you will. Tiant didn't make much money at all playing ball, and he faced a lot of discrimination in the States, and he did not want that for his son.
I guess he relented eventually.
It was his wife, I think Isabel's her name, don't quote me on that though, who talked him into letting young Luis play. And in 1959, young Luis played for the Mexico City Tigers.
How old was he by 1959?
He was born November 23rd, 1940. So he would be 18 during the 1959 season.
Okay.
Fun fact. The scout who signed him was Bobby Avila, who was from Mexico and had been a 3-time All-Star with the Indians. And when the Indians set the American League record for wins in 1954, won the American League batting title, hitting .341.
That's a good fun fact. But if this was 1959 and he won that title in 1954, when did he retire?
1959 was actually his last MLB season. And then, and I looked this up, according to BaseballReference.com, Avila finished his playing career also with the Mexico City Tigers in 1960, hitting .333, scoring 125 runs in 127 games, thanks to 124 walks, giving him a .486 on-base percentage.
That's one hell of a final season.
Yeah, I mean,
486 OBP.
Yeah.
That's mad.
That's Ted Williams level.
That is batting .333 for a
that's
season.
1 out of 3. That's
you take that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
124 walks
in 127 games.
Well, young Luis played with the Tigers for 3 seasons, pitched with them, and he was okay. He lowered his ERA each year as he got better. Okay. However, sad side note here. Okay. He played in the Cuban Winter League in 1960 and 61, right? But that was the last year of that league because Fidel Castro's government, the 59 revolution, got rid of professional baseball in Cuba, and when young Luis went to play his third season in Mexico, the elder Luis told him to not come back to Cuba because the political climate really changed, and they didn't see each other again for nearly 15 years.
Say what?
Yep.
So when Luis Tiant was the big star pitcher, he couldn't see his father, former all-star pitcher, in person. So he couldn't get any advice from him. He couldn't ask him.
They could write letters and they could speak
but
on the phone.
But that's not the same.
Now apparently Luis got to see his mother in late 1968 when he was a big star in Mexico. They met in Mexico. She's in Cuba. But the story is. This is the story. I can't tell you if it's 100% true.
Okay.
The story is the elder Luis was imprisoned to ensure her return. I don't know if
so
that's
that she couldn't defect, essentially.
Yeah.
Fucking Castro, man.
Considering that Fidel Castro was a pitcher who made it to the Washington Senators training camp, you would think he'd be more tolerant of baseball and pitchers.
Okay, that I didn't know. First of all. Secondly, was Castro any good?
We're going to do a little myth analyzing here.
Because maybe that's why he was mad. He didn't make it.
Here's myth analyzing, right? There are many stories to the effect that he had a blazing fastball and could have been a major leaguer. Now, Peter Bjarkman wrote a really good article. You can find this online.
Okay.
And this is a quote from this. Castro remains the most dominant self-perpetuating myth of the second half of the 20th century. And this claim is equally valid when it comes to the Cuban leader's longtime personal association with North America's self-proclaimed national game. Rare indeed is the ball fan who has not heard some version of the well-worn Castro baseball tale, that Fidel once owned a blazing fastball as a teenage prospect and was once offered big league contracts by several eager scouts, whose failures to ink the young Cuban prospect unleashed a coming half-century of Cold War political and economic intrigue.
That's a lot to take in, but you have my attention, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna stitch this together.
Okay.
A few more quotes from the article, putting it together. I'm just putting this together, right?
Okay.
One thing is ruthlessly clear about Fidel the baseball player. The oft-presented tale of his large prowess as a potential big league hurler simply isn't true as normally told. Yet, if Fidel was never a genuine pitching prospect, he was nonetheless destined to emerge as an undeniable influence on baseball's recent history within his own island nation. And also perhaps on the big league scene once his 1959 revolution closed the escape hatches for numerous Cuban league stars. Castro's personal role in killing off Cuban professional baseball has been long overstated and much overhyped. Organized baseball figures, this is interesting, plus a bevy of Washington politicos seemingly played a far larger role than Fidel. And this is me saying, outside of quotes, I have to dig into this and learn about this one day because I don't know this whole story.
Yeah, I need to too. This is insane.
And back to this article. At the same time, the Cuban Prime Minister's active involvement during the dozen or more years after seizing political power, he didn't officially become Cuba's president until 1976. He was only prime minister before that, officially, right? Both in inspiring and also legislating a prosperous amateur version of the Cuban national sport has equally been ignored by a generation and more of stateside baseball historians.
Okay, that's a lot. So was he the good guy or the bad guy?
In terms of baseball, well, quote, is Fidel Castro in the end a contemptible baseball villain, responsible for pulling the plug on the island's pro leagues, or a certified baseball hero, architect of a nobler flag-waving rather than dollar-waving version of the bat and ball sport? The answer, as with almost all elements of the Cuban Revolution, may well be a matter of one's own personal historical and political perspectives. Now, this is back to me. Now, this is a really long article, and I'm not going to dive into it more today.
One day, though. However, I want to say one thing.
Yeah?
Better dead than red. I'm just going to leave it at that. You can make of that what you will.
Now, that article goes on to say that, yeah, sure, Castro ended pro Winter League ball there.
Okay.
But it did not end like a golden age of Cuban baseball. In fact, Cuba's golden age of baseball was later in the 20th century, when the massive investment in amateur baseball players, teams, and competitions made Cuba the most successful international baseball team in history, dominating the old baseball World Cup, winning it 9 times in a row at one point, and winning 3 golds and 2 silvers in the first 5 Olympics that had baseball as a competitive sport.
So I guess if you don't like the kind of gold-digging free agency parts of today's game, late 1900s Cuban amateur baseball was likely for you, I guess.
That's
one way to put it. That's just what I'm thinking.
It's a very good way to put it. Sure.
It
might have been
because I see that they're now going to change the whole free agency thing.
We'll have to talk about when they figure it out.
Yeah.
But hey, this is the 19K club, and I'm fairly certain that neither the elder Luis Tiant nor Fireball and Fidel Castro ever struck out 19 guys in one game, and the younger Luis Tiant did. So back to him.
Okay. These were really long sidetracks. I have played my part in
They were long sidetracks. So in 1963 and 64, young Luis burned up the minors. In 64, he was 15-1 with a 2.04 ERA for the Portland Beavers before being called up by the Indians.
Them are flashy numbers, so.
But guess what?
Okay.
He was not the first pitcher the Indians called up that year from Portland. They called someone else up before the 15-1 204 guy.
All right.
Because Sudden Sam McDowell, who in 65 would strike out 325 guys with the Indians, started at 8-0 for the Beavers with a 1.18 ERA and 5 shutouts, 2 of them being a no-hitter and a one-hitter.
I think I might have called him up first as well. But Sudden Sam McDowell.
I
like that.
McDowell would become a big star before Tiant.
Okay.
He led the AL with a 2.18 ERA and 8.2 WAR, as well as those strikeouts in 1965. And actually, that was the year Sandy Koufax set the strikeout record, 382 strikeouts. McDowell had more strikeouts per 9 innings. That he set 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Not even Koufax admitted. That was the MLB record at the time. In fact, Sudden Sam was a 6-time All-Star from then until 1970 when his career broke down. But I will talk about him another day.
How did the two of them do in 64 then?
They both actually did great with the Indians. McDowell went 11-6 after being called up, and Tiant went 10-4, and both had ERAs below 3. Pretty good having two young arms like that, right?
Pretty good.
Actually, if you add Tiant's major and minor league records together that year, he was 25-5 with a 2.42 total ERA.
That's a pretty nice way to announce yourself to the league. Yeah.
And now Tiant had a so-so 65 with sore arm issues. Then in 66 and 67 was pretty good, starting but also seeing a fair amount of bullpen work. In 1966, he led the AL with 5 shutouts, despite only starting 16 games because of the bullpen. Yep. Side note, this is me even doing a small apology. I mentioned him as an honorable mention in the single season shutouts percentage series, right? For 1972, because he didn't have 20 starts then, but he still had over 30% of it. But in 1966, he should be there as well because he had 5 shutouts in 16 starts. That is 31.25% of his starts.
Ah, there we go. So, but that was a fun episode.
That was good stuff. Yeah. Now, Tiant really became a star with his 1968. He threw 4 straight shutouts early on, which is one less than Doc White's then record, which Don Drysdale broke a few weeks later. Yeah. But the high water mark of his season really has to be July 3rd, when he pitched a 10-innings shutout, striking out 19 in 10 innings, and bringing his ERA down to 1.03. This is the middle of the season.
That's insane.
He had some hard luck with run support, and even though he would be 16-5 on July 20th, 16-5, he went 5-4 the rest of the way, being shut out 3 times, one of them 1-0.
Could he have won, maybe more than 30 games of actual run support?
Maybe. I mean, actual 30-game win in that season, Denny McLain absolutely thought so. And McLain's catcher, Bill Freehan, thought Tiant would win more like 40, right?
Oh, wow.
His final 2 wins of the year in September were a 16 strikeout, 1-run outing versus the Twins, and then a 1-hit 11K shutout against the Yankees.
Jeez, he was riding high.
Yeah, but then came 69, 70, and 71.
Oh, here we go. What happened?
That I will tell you next time.
I thought as much. We only covered 2 19K guys today. How many 19K guys are there?
10.
Okay, well, I am part to blame for today, so I apologize. I sidetracked you all over the place.
Yeah, sure.
I did a lot of that.
I wasn't expecting to talk about Fidel Castro, but we've covered 4 and 3 episodes, but Tiant needs his day in the sun. It's not going to take months to finish this series. And some of the more recent ones I'm not going to go so in-depth with because that's more stuff people already know about. Yeah. And my job here is to shine lights on the corners of baseball history that need lights shined on. Okay. But I will finish Luis Tiant at least, and his father, next time.
And what instructions does everybody have until then?
Well, tell everyone you know about this podcast. It would be great if we get picked up by the sports section of some newspaper or something like that, so we could reach a broader audience. We have actually sort of flattened growth-wise this year.
Oh, maybe we're too niche.
Who doesn't like stories like the ones today? We talk about Fidel Castro.
I mean, that's a pretty good point.
Better dead than red. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody has any suggestions how we could maybe grow, I'm all ears. We're all ears.
And you can write those to us at baseballhistorytimemachine.com or on Facebook or Instagram.
And you can join us on Patreon and get an episode maybe a day or 3 early. Depends on when Indy gets to edit them. And that will also make our lives a little bit easier.
Okay, well, we will be back with more Tiant tales next time. So take us home.
It's goodbye from me, Berns.
And me, Indy Neidell.
And the Baseball History Time Machine.
Yeah.